Week 14 DFS. We have arrived. It is Thursday at noon Eastern, which means it's time for the Fantasy Life DFS Jam. I'm Peter Overzet. We're going to be talking Week 14 DFS, drafting some teams on Underdog for the next hour. I got some drafts under my belt last night, have been doing some research. My Fantasy Life strategy guide for this slate is also up and live on the site. If you guys want to check that out, I'll be sure to drop that in the chat. Actually, I will do that right now. And I also have a fun idea for the randomizer wheel today as far as getting some ideas for unique builds. So I'll show you guys that in a second. But let's start where we always do here, which is, and I just realized I need to, forgot to throw this up on the Fantasy Life Twitter. Let's get this streamed up over there as well. Yeah, I'll start sharing my screen here. We can go through some of the games from a macro perspective, and then we can dive in to some drafts here. Always like going over to our odds screener here just to get a lay of the land as far as what kind of totals we're looking at. And it sets up to be a much better week than last week. Last week, all three of the best games were on Thanksgiving, which meant we were set up with a main slate that didn't have a single game with a total over 45 points. So things are looking a lot better for this week. And let me get this all up here on the screen so you guys can see the totals. Unfortunately, the best game of the week is tonight. So we're not going to have that on the main slate. Cowboys, Lions, 54.5 point total. But there's three other games that really stand out to me. Colts, Jags has a 47.5 point total. Bengals, Bills, 53.5 point total. That's very juicy there. And then I also have a ton of interest in this Cardinals and Rams game, 48 point total. We obviously have some stinkers here. Titans versus Cleveland Browns, 34 point total. That's pretty gross. Some of these spots, I like the over maybe more than like the market would indicate. I think this Bucs Saints game at 41.5, that seems light to me. I could see that game get going. And I could also see Bears and Packers soar over this total of 44.5 as well. So that's a little high level here. Let's head over to Underdog and we can look at the overall ADP landscape before we get going here. There's a few Q tags on this slate that I think are kind of interesting and could, dare I say, flip the slate on its head. I think Chris Olave is going to be fine. He's been playing through these back spasms. Now, if you want to wonder if he's going to be quite as effective or if he has a ceiling, I think that's a fair debate, but I do think he's going to play. Drake London and T. Higgins, I'm not quite as sure about. Drake London did not practice yesterday. Higgins was limited. So did they say he cleared the concussion protocol? It sounds like he made progress through it. So that seems like a positive sign. Now 10 days removed from the concussion. So we'll see on him. Kincaid is another interesting one. He returned as limited. He's now missed how many weeks? It's been almost a month since he's played with this hamstring injury. And that's a really interesting one because the Bengals are just all-time bad against tight ends. I can pull that up here on our DVP. It's become a weekly ritual just to look and see how atrocious the Bengals are against tight ends. You see here they give up a plus 8.6 fantasy boost. The next closest is the Dolphins at 3. So just an absolute atrocity of a defense against tight ends, which is obviously good for Kincaid if he plays. And the reason I don't mind taking Kincaid this week is because the swaps at tight end are actually pretty good. Like the pool of scrolls is good. Kyle Pitts has a really strong role. Harold Fannin in a good matchup here. He's really starting to ice David Njoku. Mark Andrews in a solid matchup against Pitt. Colston Loveland, led the team in targets along with Luther Burden last week with 6. Darren Waller, who's one of my favorite kind of scroll down sleepers. He has a 50% in zone target share this year when on the field. That's second to only Brock Bowers at the tight end position. So that's a long way to say, if you want to take Kincaid, take him here. And if he doesn't go, I don't think the swaps are too bad there. And then the other two main situations I'm monitoring are this Aaron Jones he logged a limited practice. I really don't think you can be taking Jordan Mason right now. And it doesn't look like people are based on this ADP. But if you want a share of the Minnesota backfield, just take Aaron Jones. And if he doesn't go, you can swap that to Jordan Mason. Monangai missed yesterday with an ankle injury. I was digging into it a little bit. It sounds like he's probably going to be fine, but we'll obviously take a look at today's injury report. Swift becomes incredibly interesting if no Monangai here. ADP of 35.1, running back 13. He's already shown a pretty high floor, even in a split with Monangai, so the ceiling would be pretty good here. And then at the wide receiver position, the big one to me is honestly this Marvin Harrison Q tag. Because if Marvin Harrison doesn't go, Michael Wilson is a smash again. And drafters are already kind of playing it like Marvin Harrison isn't going to go. But this ADP for Michael Wilson certainly has room to run at 33.3. If he doesn't, or if Harrison doesn't go, like he'll move up right into this like Justin Jefferson range, ADP of 25, probably around Waddle and Jefferson. And obviously the London and Higgins stuff will impact the ordering here, but that's just one I wanted to flag as well, that Michael Wilson is kind of currently being middled as far as this ADP, kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out as far as Harrison. He should move pretty strongly in one direction or the other, because I think his role is pretty binary with and without Marvin Harrison. So that's kind of the lay of the land from the injury standpoint here. GMs. Steven referencing, I am headed to KC today, or not today, tomorrow, for the Dog Bowl, which is the live final for the Underdog draft games. There's going to be a bunch of participants competing for a $1 million prize pool, $200,000 to first. I'm going to have a couple shows on my YouTube channel with the Badge Brothers on the weekend. Our usual Friday slate preview will be live from KC. That's going to be Friday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll have some kind of sweat show on Sunday as well. If you guys want to follow the leaderboard, listen to us interview some of the finalists, etc., should be a good time there in Kansas City. All right, so here was the idea that I had for the wheel. I'm going to go to the wheel right here. I went and asked a large language model for 100 different iterations of running back, wide receiver, tight end, and quarterback. So the 6 spots we traditionally draft. Yes, I'm boxing out the 3 wide receiver builds. And then I also said for this, just don't put a tight end or quarterback in round 1. I think it's fine to take Allen or McBride, but I didn't want to be forced into any like super weird spots of having to take, Allen at 101 or something. So I have 100 of these right here. And I figure, look at this, the wheel. If you're wondering, by the way, there's 720 combinations of the unique permutations of running back, wide receiver, QB, tight end. And I did just pare it down by saying no quarterback or tight end in round 1. But I feel like this will be a fun way to just push me into some different builds here. You can see just like random one, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, running back. I mean, the diciest ones are probably quarterback early, specifically probably like quarterback in round 2 if you miss out on Josh Allen. But we can make anything work here. So let's spin the wheel and we'll see which of these build types we have in store for me for this first draft. I should grade these how like GTO they are. This one is like a 10. I mean, this is perfect. Running back, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback. That's pretty damn good right there. So we can certainly do that. Let's hop in our BR draft. Like I said, I got in a handful of these last night, getting familiar with the slate. I would say quarterback is just so-so this week. There's some stuff to like, but we just don't have a lot of the rushing quarterbacks late. Daniel Jones isn't rushing anymore. I do like Trevor Lawrence, kind of fits that bill. Caleb's in a really rough spot. Jaden's probably not going to play. So it is a lot more stacking. I guess Bo Nix. Bo Nix is a guy you can roll out naked. So I would say it's just kind of average there. As far as the quarterback slate, tight end slate's pretty good because we do get McBride, Warren, and Bowers on this slate. Unfortunately, no Kittle. And crazy just how quickly things change. We now have Brenton Strange up here at tight end 4. I do think tight end is fairly deep, though. Running back is really solid this slate. Like every name you can see on my screen, from Jonathan Taylor down to RJ Harvey, I like all of these guys. Slight, nitpicks in how I would order these relative to ADP, but I do like this crew. And there's some nice scrolls as well. I mean, Swift, we talk about, Kenneth Walker, Vikings running back, Chicago running back. So there's a lot to like there. I would say the one position I'm finding to be a little tricky this week is wide receiver. It is pretty weak after those top three. Certainly Adams and Igbuka have a case to be made as kind of touchdown merchants there in rounds 2 and 3. There's some good target share guys in Waddle and Jefferson who have had to kind of deal with poor quarterback play. Lots of Q tags, lots of guys who have been disappointments this year. So not quite as fruitful at the wide receiver position, but we'll talk it through and see how we're doing here. Yeah, Garage says that was elite roll. Let me refresh my memory here. Running back, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback. So first up, we will be doing a running back, Achane, Cook, or Bijan, kind of the easy three to decide from there. And one thing I like to do is just pull up our projections while we're drafting as well. It's kind of fun to sanity check some of these selections when you're on the clock. And James Cook falls to 4 here. So I'm certainly going to take James Cook. You can see here in the fantasy life. Let me go to FanDuel projections, which are a better proxy for Underdog. Wow, we have James Cook as the number 1 projected running back this week, even over Jonathan Taylor. I think I'm still Taylor over Cook personally, but nice to get the confirmation there for James Cook. And I get why he's projecting like that. It's the best, matchup for running backs, similar to tight ends. The Bengals give up a gaudy fantasy boost to opposing running backs plus 7.9. And then the workload for Cook has been insane. 32 attempts last week. So yeah, hard to not see James Cook, having a solid game here. The way it really goes wrong is if he gets vultured at the goal line by Josh Allen or Ty Johnson stuff or whatever. That can certainly happen. But yeah, I like the James Cook play a lot here. This is going to be pretty clearly Devontae Adams for us. You can see here, I mean, I would normally take Trey McBride, but to fulfill my prompt, of course, wide receiver, it's going to be Devontae Adams. I don't even think it's close as far as him and Igbuka. Let's see here. We have Adams projected for 12.6 and Igbuka is down here at 11. So yeah, Adams kind of the clear best available wide receiver. So we'll go ahead and grab James Cook with Adams. The way you'll see me get squirmy with some of these prompts is when I do get a really good value combo that I would otherwise vacuum up. Like if you look at Cook's ADP and Trey McBride, you're probably not going to get a lot of James Cook and Trey McBride paired together. So having to pass on that a little bit in me died. You might have, 4 to 5 chances at that over the course of 150 drafts on a given week, a combo. So, that hurts. So just know that the things I'm doing to stay true to the wheel for you guys. Our 3rd round selection is going to be running back here. We've started James Cook, Devontae Adams. And again, this is kind of the sweet spot of the draft board here. Jacobs, Henry, Bucky, all very much in the conversation. We'll see what Kev Slice does, and then we'll check the projections real quick as well. He goes Jacobs. So this is probably between Henry, Irving, and Judkins. Let's check our running back projections here. Jacobs, we do have Henry slightly ahead of Irving here. So we can go ahead and play Derrick Henry, although man, I do love that matchup for Bucky Irving, but let's grab Derrick Henry here. He did slide a couple spots past ADP. So we'll go James Cook, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, and now our 4th round selection is going to be a wide receiver. And we'll see what falls to us here. I'll also check some of the projections. As the week goes on, I don't have to, check the projections quite as much, but I do when I'm getting my first 15, 20, 30 drafts under my belt. I do like looking at this stuff and just getting a real good feel for, what do the numbers say? Where am I kind of IKBing? Where am I going to say that, the projections are wrong, etc. One thing you can see here that stands out is look at our Michael Wilson projection. This projection obviously is not including Marvin Harrison, but we have him as the wide receiver 7 without Marvin Harrison. So that is very, very notable there. We also are projecting Drake London in right now. And Igbuka, we're definitely a little lower on than ADP. But Igbuka does fall here. I do think I'm just going to grab him. I do like Waddle. The Q tag stuff is completely fine. I don't mind taking some stabs on that. But I think I'm just going to keep stacking a couple fallers here. And so we'll go James Cook, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Emeka Igbuka. The other nice thing about Igbuka is I do have a round 6 quarterback. So if Baker Mayfield is there, that's a nice stacking partner. Matthew Stafford's already gone, so I won't be stacking up Adams, which means I might want to consider a tight end in round 5 that has a stacking partner. Right now, I essentially have no correlation on this team, which isn't the end of the world, but I want to think through how the quarterback fits into this lineup. James Cook, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Emeka Igbuka, and per the wheel, our final selections will be tight end and quarterback here. Yeah, Steven saying a lot of people will draft this sort of construction. Yeah, this is more of the default. I will say most people though would have taken Trey McBride with the second round pick, and I also wonder if optimal this week because running back is so strong. If we look in rounds 3 and 4, you still have Breece Hall, you still have Harvey. I think starting wide receiver is actually pretty nice. Like this start from the 6 hole where you get Chase and Puka. You can come back, still get Bucky in round 4. That's pretty nice there. Arm Covers likes the leverage on this squad. Yeah, that's a fun angle to think through, of course. Adams can certainly crater Puka. Emeka Igbuka can wipe out the Bucky teams if you get the right, touchdown angle there. And that's really what Adams and Igbuka are. They are, to me, from a fantasy perspective, pretty just big touchdown merchants. You want them to score those 2 TDs and hog all of the points. Let's go ahead and grab Tyler Warren here. I was thinking I was going to be kind of at a tier break at tight end. I'm guessing if we look at our projections, and let me just make sure. Yeah, we go McBride 13.9, Bowers 10.4, Warren 9.4, and then it's a 1-point drop down to the next one. So Tyler Warren's an easy selection for us. It fulfills our prompt and also gets us the best available tight end. And now everyone behind me already has their quarterback selected, which means I will be able to get Baker Mayfield on this team. My 6th round pick had to be a quarterback. You could do Daniel Jones with Tyler Warren, but one thing I've been thinking about with Daniel Jones is he's just not running at all with this fibula thing. It's very similar to what we saw with Jackson Dart on Monday night where there was no designed runs. And to me, the entire thesis of the Daniel Jones click is that leverage angle on Jonathan Taylor. He rushes in a few at the goal line. And if he doesn't have that in his bag, then he's essentially a pocket passer. And that doesn't mean you couldn't stack him with Tyler Warren. I think, break glass and in case of emergency, you can certainly do that. But to me, I'm way less interested in Daniel Jones now with this new reality of him not being a rusher. And I think I'd rather lean into some other quarterbacks and just play the Colts pass catchers as one-off. So one-off Tyler Warren. We saw Alec Pierce connect on some downfield shots. It's good that Daniel Jones can still throw down the field, but I just really question his fantasy ceiling relative to guys like Bo Nix, relative to guys like Trevor Lawrence. So let's grab Baker Mayfield here, and this squad will be in the books. Running back, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback. We go James Cook, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Emeka Igbuka, Tyler Warren, and Baker Mayfield. Let's hop in another one and spin the wheel and see if we can get maybe an even more uncomfortable build here. All right, we got KC barbecue recommendations here. Joe's KC. Yeah, I'm not actually sure the food plans, but this is good to know. Thank you. All right, this is actually another very friendly prompt here. Wide receiver, running back, tight end, wide receiver, quarterback. So we'll probably miss out on Bowers and McBride, but the round 1 wide receiver followed by 2 running backs is comfy. Late round quarterback is comfy. Tight end in round 4 might be the only one where it feels a little gross. Like if Warren goes, having to take a Brenton Strange there, but it's not the end of the world. We got the 1-3 here, so this will be a good spot to get a wide receiver. We'll either take JSN or Jamar Chase. We have JSN projected for 17 points this week, and we have Jamar Chase projected for 16. Puka at 15.1. So this is the clear tier in ordering, which is just how underdog drafters have it as well. JSN, Chase, then Puka, and then down to Adams here, but a pretty big gap. Like, you're going another 2.6 points from Puka down to Adams. So we do get JSN here with this first pick. Certainly stoked on that. We get Peary going Puka 101, which is interesting. The Puka stuff it's just the Devonta Adams is a real issue for Puka's ceiling because Puka's still going to get his 8 to 9 targets every game, but he is a ghost in the red zone here. He has not had a touchdown for over a month in San Francisco. He had one. He's still getting his 8, 11, 9 targets. But man, to not have that touchdown upside because they're, treating Devonta Adams as a goal line back, to me, that makes it really tough to take, Puka ahead of JSN this week. So our next selection is going to be a running back. Certainly going to be okay with whichever of these backs are here. Bijan and JSN is kind of a fun mini correlation if you can get it. I think if you get JSN to fall a little bit, you could do that from like the 6-7 turn or from like the 5 in the 8 spot there. Let's check our running back projections here. We do have Jacobs even slightly ahead of Bijan, which is interesting. I don't know if I would have it like that. The Bijan floor has just been so good, and I still think Jacobs is a little touchdown dependent. That said, he is going to be the best pick here for me. Not really involved in the receiving game last week. Not sure how much of that is an aberration compared to earlier in the year. He was catching 3, 4, 5 balls in that stretch, but pretty good matchup here against Chicago. The Bears, middle of the pack against the run, and I think they have a few injuries as well in their linebacker core this week. And we know Green Bay, they want to establish the run every possible chance they get. So we start JSN and then Jacobs. We're back on the clock in the market for another running back. This is one where I do like looking at the projections. Judkins, Brown, Breece Hall, Harvey. We have Bucky, but Bucky's not there. We have Kyron and then Breece. I think Breece is probably my favorite of these looking at the options. I do like Judkins. Chase Brown saw a role decrease with P. Ryan back, so I'm being a little more cautious with him. I like what Tyrod is doing for this offense too with Breece Hall, and still one of the more explosive running backs in football, can take that screen pass to the house. So I like the Breece Hall, the combination of the volume and the upside with his talent. Judkins, though, is someone I'm not going to fully ignore. Even, you look at the projection gap we're talking about here. I took Breece Hall at 12.9. We have Judkins projected for the same thing, 12.9. I would say the one projection, I actually talked about this in the newsletter today because I was writing about the Blake Corum and Kyron Williams split. This is our one projection in rank that I'm having a hard time with. Kyron Williams at 13.1. He did leave the game with an ankle injury for a little bit, which did lead to a little bit more quorum. But Dan Graziano from ESPN was talking to the coaching staff, and they were talking about how they view these guys as interchangeable. And Kyren essentially has the same problem as Puka in that he's losing goal line carries to Devontae Adams, and he's losing some goal line carries to Blake Corum. So he's getting squeezed in a lot of directions when the entire selling point for Kyren historically has been 1, volume, and 2, goal line carries. And now I feel like both of those are in doubt. In a way, I can't take Kyren ahead of Hall, ahead of Judkins, ahead of Harvey. I think for me, he's more in that Chase Brown, Genty, ETN role or territory as far as like a tier. And the quotes too from the coaching staff, like they said it. They're like, we're here to play into January, into February. We do not want to saddle up Kyren Williams with too much of a load and then have him wear down. And then they had a quote too where they were saying they look so much alike that they sometimes in the coaching box can't even tell which one is which, which is a good way to know how the team feels about their chances with both Kyren and Corum on the field right now. So we've gone wide receiver, running back. This is my tight end selection. So we are in the spot this time where Tyler Warren goes. Tyler Warren actually goes ahead of Bowers in this one. So now we get to decide here, and we should check the projections because I'm guessing we're pretty flat here. Yeah, we have Johnson at 8.4, Kincaid 7.7, Ertz 7.6. We're not as high on the market as the market with Brenton Strange. Let's do the Dalton Q tag. You know, this can be a little bit of a placeholder. I do think he would be going ahead of Strange if he wasn't coming off of this absence. We'll grab Kincaid. And I do like using Kincaid without Allen, just because when Allen smashes a first round price tag, like Crutches takes him here at 6, like if Josh Allen's the optimal, he's probably scoring 30. He's probably rushing in 1, if not 2 touchdowns. And in those cases, Kincaid is probably less likely to have a 2-touchdown game. So I kind of like, de-pairing the conventional stacks when it comes to the expensive rushing quarterbacks. So now what I have to navigate are these last 2 decisions here at wide receiver and quarterback. I want to give myself some quarterback outs. I guess Darnold can be my emergency because I do have JSN. Is Michael Wilson gone? Yeah, Michael Wilson is gone. So he's already moving up draft boards a good bit. We could also, I think we probably just take Jefferson here. Jefferson is obviously really interesting this week because it's an incredible matchup here against Washington. We have him as the wide receiver 11 in our projections. He's currently going off the board as the wide receiver 8. Who did our projections like me to take? I think they like me to take London more. We certainly could have done, where are the projections here? Yeah, I liked London more with the Q-Tech stuff and Higgins slightly, but these are pretty close projections here. If Justin Jefferson ever is going to get going, it's this game at home against Washington, who's just been really, really bad. So we'll take a stab there. And then that does really limit my quarterback options. Probably just going to roll with Sam Darnold here. I could also, if I had like a Brock Bowers, I'd be interested in a naked Bo Nix. If I had Puka or Adams, a naked Jacoby Brissett. Trevor Lawrence is always good there as well. Let's check the projections and see how much you're sacrificing going down to Darnold. So we have Darnold at 15.5. We have some of these other guys up here at, Brissett's at 17.5. Baker only slightly more at 15.9. Nix. So Brissett's really the one that kind of separates from a projection standpoint of these guys. And so then you have to ask yourself, is the correlation, Darnold's paired with JSN, is that worth a 2-point projection gap? That's kind of the question you're always wrestling with. And if I did have a Rams piece, I think I would go ahead and play that Brissett angle, but I want to play those scenarios where JSN goes for 30, Sam Darnold is hitting the upper end of his projection, which we've seen him do before, at Washington, the 28-point scores. It hasn't been pretty of late, and I won't be stacking Darnold with quite the same frequency as I normally did with JSN, but I still want to have some JSN paired with Darnold. So we'll go ahead and do that one with no other correlated angles to indulge in there. All right, I'm enjoying this. Hopefully you guys are as well. I'm going to hop in another draft. I'm going to spin the wheel here, and we'll see if we can get another fun sequence here to draft. All right, wide receiver, running back, tight end, quarterback, wide receiver. Okay. We can this is another decent one. I mean, I guess I'm not liking this round 4 tight end. I would like to be able to get like a round 2 tight end. It'd be nice to get some McBride in Bowers or a full punt. So that's a little uncomfortable, but otherwise can certainly make this work here again. Before I forget, I do have to let you guys know about our sponsor here, Xfinity. Shout out to Xfinity for allowing us to draft teams here on a Thursday afternoon. And if you call yourself a sports fan, you got to have Xfinity. All the games, all in one place. They have every pro football game and over 1,000 college games, highlights and alerts, all in one place. You can build a multi-view to watch 4 games at once. In the Xfinity fan view includes live scores, odds, and stats all in one place, personalized to you. There's also enhanced 4K. I've seen it. It looks incredible. That's Xfinity enhanced 4K. And there's a voice remote. You just say football to access all of these features. Imagine all of your football all in one place. It's that easy. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Restrictions do apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. All right, we got the 1617 here. Let me refresh. Wait, can you guys, I accidentally removed my prompt. Can someone in the chat remember what it was? I know it was round 4 tight end because I didn't like that. And, oh shit, someone needs to rewind and tell me what the prompt was because I forget. Can someone in the chat help me out? I want to say it was quarterback in round 5. Was it tight end, quarterback, wide receiver? I think it was wide receiver, running back, tight end, quarterback, wide receiver. I'm pretty sure that was it. Or I could just spin again. I have a million of these. All right, thank you guys. I'm going to leave this comment up on so I don't forget it. Wide receiver, running back, tight end, quarterback, wide receiver. Okay, so I had it. Thank you. You guys are all paying attention. Hawkberg is in this draft as well. Look at that, multitasking. So for this one, I have too many tabs open. For this one, wide receiver at the turn, we're definitely hoping for Chase. If not, Puka is a fine consolation prize there. And then running back, that's fairly straightforward. Probably going to be Bijan, available at pick 7. And then the unfortunate thing with quarterback here is if I do get Puka or Chase, Stafford and Burrow probably aren't making it. I guess Burrow will make it a little bit of the time back to round 5 for me, but we shall see. But as you know, doing these drafts, granted, I am doing them with the built-in constraints. The stacking dynamics are just a little trickier, and you can see the Adams and Puka drafters clearly going after Stafford, the Chase and Higgins drafters clearly grabbing Burrow, the Puka drafter clearly drafting Mayfield. But then you have all of these kind of uncomfortable situations. Like, do you stack Lamar? Do you stack Bo Nix? The Jacoby one's pretty clean to me there. Chase does go. So we're going to be Puka and Bijan here to fulfill our prompt of a wide receiver and running back start. But yeah, just some of these other stacking dynamics. I guess Lawrence with Jacoby Myers would be there. Love. Are you stacking Love? That's a tricky one. Daniel Jones, talked about not loving him. Darnold, the pocket passer, just with JSN. Caleb. Yeah. So I don't know. I find this week from a quarterback perspective to be a little trickier. I will for those of you who are YouTube members on my channel, every single Thursday afternoon, I post my favorite hidden gems for the slate, which are basically players who are projected to be drafted in less than 30% of individual drafts, and just a way to kind of flag the sleepers. Obviously, any of these guys getting drafted in round 1 or 2, they're going to be drafted in 100% of drafts these weeks. So finding the guys who don't project that differently than the guys who regularly get drafted in rounds 4 and 5. And I do think like the Jags are honestly a pretty good example of that this week. You know, Jacoby Myers has definitely been the preferred option here, but you get this dynamic where Jacoby Myers is going to be, I don't know, 70, 80% drafted this week at an ADP of 31.2. And Brian Thomas, who I get it, has been bad. He's going to be drafted less than 30% of the time, probably even more than that, probably less than, I don't know, 20, 15% of the time. And then you go and you look at the projections for the team and you see, hey, is there any fragility here? And look at this. Jacoby Myers projected for 9.1, Brian Thomas Jr. projected for 8.4. So obviously in a vacuum, you would take Jacoby Myers every time. Give me the guy who's been better, who projects for more points. But if I told you one's going to be 80% drafted and the other's going to be 30%, which one do you start to prefer? I'm willing to give up 0.7 points of projection for a huge ownership swing. So those are kind of the fun ones to look at in finding those teammates who might be overvalued relative to their other teammates who come at a huge ownership discount. So we start wide receiver, running back. We're now going to be going running back and tight end here. I don't envision Derrick Henry sliding too much further here. T. Higgins goes. We'll see what pick and long shots. Yeah, they go Henry, but this works out. I do get Warren again. He's going to be my 4th round selection. And then here it's just, do I want to go Breece Hall? Man, Stafford on the board too. I would normally lock up Puka there. Or do I just want to take the running back I'm feeling best about in Breece Hall? I think we're just going to do Breece Hall again. We'll go Breece Hall and Warren. And we got our running back, tight end. And then we will go quarterback in round 5. So I kind of like this because if I get Stafford, no, Stafford just goes. So scratch that. I can go quarterback and then kind of set up the stack for the wide receiver if I'd like, because I'll obviously have the back-to-back picks. So I can think through a specific stack if I want it. But yeah, like you go through these. Chris Olave, not that interested in Shuck. Jalen Waddle, not that interested in Tua. Justin Jefferson, not interested in McCarthy. Drake London, not interested in Kirk Cousins. Terry McLaurin, I guess a little bit of interest in Mariota, but not a ton. Jacoby, yes, some interest in Lawrence. Watson, that's the guy. I mean, I was talking about who do you stack Love with. That's the guy there. So a Watson Love stack is kind of intriguing to me. There's Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson with Brissett is a good one. The Sutton stuff's kind of crazy. I think let's look at some fragile, wide receiver projections here and, look no further than Denver, especially now that Pat Bryant is coming on a little bit. This is like a mess. So Sutton 9, Franklin 6'9", Bryant 5'7", and I don't even know if I buy this big of a gap between Sutton and Franklin, honestly. Should pull up the utilization for the Broncos over the past few weeks. Let's actually do a comparison here. I did this with the Bears wide receivers earlier. Let's go to Broncos. We got our wide receivers. Let's get Sutton, Franklin, and Pat Bryant in here. And let's look over, the past 3 weeks and to see how this trend has been going. So if we did, this is just utilization score. So Franklin's has actually been going down, man. Yeah, he went 78, 73, and then last week kind of bottomed out at 31. I guess Sutton's has kind of been going up, and then, Pat Bryant saw the big spike there. All right, we are back on the clock. I real quick want to see Michael Wilson is gone, so I can't pull that angle. Christian Watson is gone, so I can't pull that angle. Man, I need to make a decision quickly here. I think we can do the Jacoby Myers, or sorry, let's do the Thomas. I was just talking about Brian Thomas. Did I get this in time? I can't sit here and talk about how I'm going to take the Brian Thomas over Jacoby and then not do that. So we'll do Trevor Lawrence with Brian Thomas. And the other nice thing about this is we already kind of had a game stack built here at a good price with Tyler Warren as our tight end. So I like building around that. We already talked about this Jacksonville, Indiana game having one of the better game totals on the slate. Colts projected for 24.25 points there. And Jags, I think, can certainly push them. They have a 23-point team total. All right, so there it is. Lawrence to BTJ, excuse me, with the Warren bring back Puka, Breece Hall, Bijan. Let's spin again here, hop in another draft. Appreciate everybody hanging out, watching. All you guys over on X, make sure you get over here too on the YouTube channel. We have a bunch of great shows throughout the week. I was just listening to the utilizations show between Ian and Dwayne. There's great recap shows on Sunday nights. Kendall and Ian do a nice matchup show, all kinds of great stuff there. So make sure you guys are subscribed. And if you are over here on YouTube, hit the like button with us. All right. What is my, okay. All right. See, we're not getting anything too funky. I did say no tight end in round 1. So that obviously was not going to show up in these, but I cannot get a round 2 or a round 3 tight end yet. So this one is wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, quarterback, tight end, running back. So this is our first late round running back. So this will be good because we'll have to get into scroll territory at running back. We have the 1-3 here. So hopefully I can snag JSN. If not, Jamar Chase is a fine consolation prize. Round 4 quarterback, I could go Chase knowing that like Joe Burrow lines up pretty well as a round 4 quarterback. But I think I'm just going to, okay, JSN does go. So yes, I will happily take Chase here. And then that does give us the Joe Burrow round 4 possibility at a decent price. Our next pick is going to be running back at pick 10, which is going to put us right in this same range we've been picking. Bijan, Jacobs, Henry. Maybe we pull up Bucky this time. Checking. Let's sort by ceiling projection this time. Yeah, we do see Bucky jumping Henry when we go to ceiling projection. Henry with a slightly better base projection. And Jacobs up here as well. But I would just feel bad going this entire stream without clicking Bucky. I will take Bijan though too if he falls, because he's right up here with the best of the bunch. Bijan does go. So let's go ahead and grab Bucky this time. We've done some Henry, we've done some Jacobs. Let's grab Bucky. Bucky and Jamar Chase to start, and then we'll be going wide receiver here in the 3rd. Who are some of your guys' favorite clicks so far this week? I know we got some grinders in the chat doing drafts. Who are some of your guys' favorite week 14 selections so far? So on this team, even if Igbuka's here, I'm not going to do Igbuka. I do want to play it. Not that it's awful to do so, but two high-priced players from the same team, I generally don't love doing it. We're actually going to do Waddle here, and it's kind of funny. This is destiny, because right as I was about to click Waddle, I see a tweet on my timeline from Sharp Football. It says, Jalen Waddle ranks number 9 in the league with 2.43 yards per route run. The Jets defense ranks 20th in yards per target and 22nd in yards per catch to wide receivers. Jalen Waddle, I believe I heard Dwayne say he has a 30+% target share over his past 3 to 4 weeks. I think a little undervalued here. Certainly not where I took him. I just pulled him up to pick 15, but I think very much in the conversation with these other wide receivers. And you can see here we have him with a better base projection than Igbuka. So we start Jamar Chase, then grab Bucky, get our second wide receiver with Waddle, and then we'll be taking a quarterback here in round 4. Steven likes Cook and A-Chain. Where do you get your ideas, Steven? Do you have anything maybe more bold for me than the number 2 and number 3 overall picks on this slate? Nick, am I worried about Tua in the cold? Yes, I am, but I'm not worried about Jalen Waddle. I'm not worried about Jalen Waddle, just Tua. Christian Watson, yep. Right now, his ADP is just kind of hovering on that 30% threshold that I use for kind of flagging my gems, but he's definitely going to make the cut if that holds. Ramsey says lots of Cook and Judkins. Nice. Yep, just picking on those bad Bengals and Titans defenses. All right, so round 4 quarterback. This is a no-brainer to pair Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow. Obviously, if you didn't have a wheel dictating your positional decisions, you don't have to ever stack Chase with Burrow if you don't want to, but kind of similar with the Darnold thing in a lot of those scenarios where Chase is going nuclear, Burrow is having a very solid game, and it reduces a 6-leg parlay to a 4-leg parlay or a 5-leg parlay when you can get 2 things right for the price of 1. So we got our Chase, and then we did Bucky, then Waddle, then Burrow, and now we're tight end and running back to finish up. So it'll be fun to get to a sleeper running back, and now we just kind of have to figure out our tight end selection. One who we had projected well that would make sense here for a little correlated angle? We have a nice projection on Juwan Johnson. He's currently our tight end 4, 8.4 base projection. Pretty solid. They're clearing Kincaid, Ertz, these other guys around him by a decent bit. And we could pair him opposite Bucky Irving. So I like that angle. We'll grab him. And now we can kind of talk sleeper running backs here at the back end. Nothing I would do with a Buffalo bring back. James Cook is already off the board. We're not going to do Devin Neal on a team where we already have Juwan Johnson. Breece Hall is gone. That's always a fun mini correlation opposite Jalen Waddle. So we're going to be just kind of mining for a sleeper we like straight up. Our projections, like Genty, like ETN, like Walker. Walker, to me, strikes me as a really good click this week. There was frustration from myself included about his score last week because it was such a smash spot against Minnesota. You get the game flow you want, but it was such an absurd blowout that they really didn't need him in the second half. And when you look at the utilization, it's actually still been good. And kind of that sea change we saw earlier has still been holding up pretty decently here. We can look at this usage over the past few weeks here, but look at this. Like even last week, like you see the score from Walker and you're like, God, dude, how did you not put up a bigger score? But this utilization score, has been good since the coach speak. 75, 71, and 64 So I like Kenneth Walker here. I'm just making sure if I shouldn't pass on RJ Harvey, but I kind of like getting one guy who's going to come in at a little lower ownership. An ADP of 31.3 for Harvey versus one at 35.3 is a pretty big difference. So let's go ahead and grab Kenneth Walker on this one. We do have Harvey projected for more points, 12.3 to 11, but you do start to get into that spot where you start to say, hey, is a 50% ownership discount worth sacrificing, a 1.3 in projection there? All right, we got a few other votes here. I like so far Bucky and Henry are my highest. I like it. Ertz. Yeah, Ertz got spammed targets on Monday night against Denver. Garage likes both Swift and Kyle Monangai. Yeah, I really want to see the practice report on Monangai today. And then if he's good to go, I'll be taking stabs at both. And if he's not good to go, then DeAndre Swift becomes just a huge part of the rest of week draft plans. All right, let's spin the wheel again. We got time for one more. We just hit 1,000 viewers here between Twitter and YouTube. So thank you to everybody hanging out here on a Thursday. Our final prompt, I cannot get an early tight end, but we do have a wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, quarterback, tight end. So this time we can get very funky at tight end. Never got any like round 2 quarterback or round 2 tight end, but that is just what the randomization gods had in store for us today, I suppose. I have 2 other shows today on my YouTube channel. I have Lulz, and we're going to be talking to someone from the DFS space named Sports Projections. He's also very into the prediction market space, which is obviously blowing up right now. So we're going to have a conversation with him about that. And then I'm moving up my regular Friday DFS shows to today because I'm traveling tomorrow for the Dog Bowl. So I do 2 DFS shows, one with JM to Win from 1 week season, one with Utical from Run the Sims. And that will be at 3 p.m. Eastern on my channel. And we'll be talking salary cap DFS on DraftKings for that show. I'm with Josh on Waller. I wrote him up in my my piece here for Fantasy Life. I think I dropped this in the chat earlier. Let me go ahead and do it one more time if you guys missed it. But yeah, the Waller stuff has been awesome. In the games he has been healthy, he's number 5 in tight end air yard share and number 2 in end zone target share, which I mentioned earlier. So it's just a really fantasy friendly role. They're looking for him in the red zone. They're looking for him downfield. And the Jets are not great against tight end either. They're number 31 in defensive pass DVOA against tight end. So yeah, Waller is a pretty good selection this week, even if you're scared about Tua in the cold. All right, let's see. We're going wide receiver here in round 3. Will they let me have JS? Okay, is this draft going to get thrown out? Bo Nix, round 1. 101, Bo Nix. What are we doing here, DM? We will keep an eye on you, DM, but I have a feeling this draft might not survive, but we will draft it as if it does. Are you guys panicked about JSN? Seems like some people are worried about JSN. I'm not worried. I think the you can't always just say like, oh, the game flow was so wonky because JSN has put up big scores in games. The Seahawks have blown teams out, but that truly was one of the more dominant defensive performances that just didn't leave room for a lot of pass attempts there. I mean, how many times did Sam Darnold drop back in that Seahawks Vikings game? How many pass attempts did Sam Darnold have? 14 for 26. So yeah, I mean, part of that was the blitz. Kevin O'Connell was dialing up a pretty good blitz on Darnold, took 4 sacks, but I'm going to chalk it up more to a 1 week aberration, and I'm not too scared of the Falcons. I like that game's in that dome too. Let's get JSN going on the fast track. I really need Red Beardy to take Trey McBride because I don't want to have to pass on Trey McBride and JSN, but I'm going to be forced to. That's just how it goes. Running back. Let's get the mini correlation though. I mentioned this one at the top of the show. I like this. Bijan and JSN in that same game. Robinson has been awesome of late and obviously broke the slate last week with 27.8 points. 5 for 51 in the receiving game. Why couldn't I have a round 3 tight end? You know, it'd be real nice to be able to click Brock Bowers on one of these teams. Instead, we'll be grabbing another running back here. Who haven't I clicked on this stream yet that we've liked? Judkins? Is Judkins the one we haven't gotten to? Let's see. So DM, who took Bo Nix 101, I wonder if they just got timed out. They were doing the star method and they wanted to do a Denver stack and accidentally took it early. Okay, they go Bowers, Judkins. So they're back on track. So hopefully this doesn't get thrown out. Do I just take advantage of the ADP faller and just say, hey, the combo of JSN, Bijan, and Josh Jacobs will be relatively unique? We've also been looking at it. We have a monster projection on Jacobs. Let's do it. We'll get Bijan, Jacobs, JSN, hope that that's relatively unique, and then we'll be coming back and grabbing a wide receiver. Then it'll be quarterback, tight end again. I think I know what I'm going to do this time. I think I know what I'm going to do. This McBride fall is crazy. McBride available at 17 just should not be happening. I'm very jealous of whoever gets to scoop up McBride here. Dude, if you get McBride on this team, K-Rare, yeah, look at this start. This start is sick. You get James Cook, Jamar Chase, Trey McBride. Yeah. Wish I had that one, brother. That's a good one. That is a good one. So I think I'm going to pull a guy up. I think we're going to do it. Let's play. I'm generally a little hesitant to do this early in the week. Like if Marvin Harrison plays, like taking Michael Wilson at pick 22 is going to look pretty bad. But for this prompt, I want to set up a quarterback stack I actually like. And I haven't been able to do that much here, I guess, other than the Chase Burrow. And I do think Brissett is undervalued. It's kind of crazy to me that Brissett is the QB7, considering just how good his floor has been. And I know the matchup on paper isn't great, versus the Rams, but it's at home. We just saw Bryce Young have a decent day against the Rams, so I'm not too scared of that. So let's set up that stack here with the Jacoby Brissett to Michael Wilson. And then we will we'll wrap it up with a scroll down tight end. Where do we have Brissett in our quarterback projections? We had him pretty high. Yeah. We have him QB6. We have Jaden, and that includes Jaden Daniels projected in. I don't think Daniels is going to play. So effectively we have Brissett as QB5. QB5 here, but a QB7 price on Underdog. All right, let's think through some of the tight end stuff, if there's any correlated angles. I do like Kyle Pitts, but I'm not going to take Pitts on a Bijan team. Colston Loveland opposite Josh Jacobs is kind of fun. How decent is our projection on Colston Loveland? We have him at tight end 10, projected for 7 points in the same range. I mean, look at how tight this band is from Loveland up to Juwan Johnson. But do you know what? We were just gushing about Waller. Let's do Darren Waller on this one. But I will say this is a good scroll week at tight end. You see how flat the projections are. After the top 3, you know, you definitely want to be concentrated on McBride, Bowers, Warren. But after that, I'd want to be very spread out here. I wouldn't want to be too overweight Strange and Kincaid because they don't separate enough from these other guys. And I think I'll be kind of living down in this Fannin, Juwan Johnson, Pitts, Waller, Loveland range. So just confirming, yep, final selection here is the tight end. Oh, wow, got sniped. Are you watching, Redbeard? To get sniped on Waller after I have him queued up. That is cruel. We'll do Loveland instead. We'll do Loveland opposite Jacobs here. All right, here is the squad. We go Jacoby to Michael Wilson. We get our 2 running backs at the top, Bijan, Josh Jacobs. We have JSN holding it down as our first pick. And then a little scroll down tight end, mini correlation opposite Jacobs in Colston Loveland. Appreciate everybody hanging out today. Again, make sure you guys are subscribed to the Fantasy Life YouTube channel and also the Fantasy Life newsletter. I write that 5 days a week, including Sunday mornings. I will get you guys caught up to speed on all of the overnight news, the Schefter bombs, all of the latest updates you need before setting your lineup and getting in those final drafts. Good luck to everyone this weekend. And I believe, I don't think I'm going to be doing the show next week. I got to talk to producers about that. I'm going to be traveling again. But if not, I will see you guys soon. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Peace.